This is not a game recap. However, this is a long overdue video about the Columbus Crew's playoff run in the MLS this season. They will be hosting the MLS Cup on December 9th, and it's certainly been a wild ride to get there. Their run to the MLS Cup has certainly been remarkable and definitely not for the faint of heart in this one. Pretty much every single round has come down to the wire in some way or another, starting with the first round, their best-of-3 series against Atlanta United, where they do get match one, a pretty comfortable win at home, a 2-0 victory. But then match 2 in Atlanta is where things got a little rocky. 4-2 loss, meaning that there needed to be a win or die match 3 back at lower.com field, and that match did go pretty well for the Crew. Not a whole lot of nerves. They went up 3-0 early, and even when they conceded a goal late in the first half to make it 3-1, they would get it right back early in the second half to make it 4-1. Match ended 4-2. Not a whole lot of nervous squirms there. Obviously, with some of the leads that the Crew blew this season and the previous years, there's going to be some thoughts nagging in the back of your head or of, oh no, they're not going to do this again. But as far as that match in a vacuum, pretty standard, comfortable victory. So nice that they made it past the first round, but the issue remained that the Crew would then have to go on the road and have a much better performance than what we just saw against Atlanta United in the playoffs. And this previous season's results on the road, not exactly a source to draw confidence from, as the Crew had a pretty dismal record on the road, and with the Crew being ranked 3rd in the East after the regular season and their second round opponent in Orlando City being ranked 2nd, that meant that they had to travel to Orlando. And, that road match against Atlanta, not exactly a comforting result to look at, with the reality of having to go on the road in a do or die match. If the Crew lost that Orlando City match, they wouldn't be able to have another opportunity to tie up the series. It's just one game after the first round. But the Orlando City match definitely had a much different feel, a different dynamic to it than the road Atlanta match, or really any of those Atlanta matches, where you had both keepers making some really great saves to keep it a 0-0 match through the first 90-plus minutes. Patrick Schulte really emphasizing his worth to the Crew this season. I wouldn't say establishing his worth, because he's been a phenomenal goalkeeper for them all season, but Schulte definitely showing off what he can do there. And the Crew were definitely given a boost by Diego Rossi drawing a red card in the 77th minute, so they were playing 11-on-10 against Orlando for the back half of that game. Early in extra time, Aiden Morris made a cross to Christian Ramirez, and the Crew went up 1-0. Schulte making a couple more huge stops to keep the Crew up a goal. Definitely some heart-stopping moments there. Eventually, Orlando's keeper was up in the play as Orlando City got a bit desperate for a goal. Cucho Hernandez was found on a counter, and he got a goal essentially from midfield. And that 2-0 victory set up probably the most crucial Hell is Real derby to date in Cincinnati. Now, after FC Cincinnati's second round match against Philadelphia, their defender, best 11 member and defender of the year in MLS, Matt Miazga, he went into the officials' locker room. Now, what happened and what transpired in that locker room is still up for debate, where you have the officials who said one thing happened, while the MLS Players Association and Cincinnati manager, Pat Noonan, strongly disagreeing with what was initially regurgitated by the officials as to what happened. Either way, going to the officials' locker room, definitely a no-no, something you're not supposed to do, and that's going to render some kind of automatic suspension regardless of what happened after entering the room. But what truly what truly mattered on last Saturday, was what would happen on the pitch when you got both clubs out there. And once again, was not a match for the faint of heart, pretty much for either side, just because of the stakes going in. But the Crew especially made things tough in the early going. So I should say Cincinnati made things tough for the Crew early on. You have Vasquez capitalizing on a Mo Farsi turnover around the 15-minute mark to make it 1-0 Cincinnati. And it looked like that was going to be the score headed into the locker rooms after the first half, but a pretty rough foul call on the Crew gave Cincinnati a free kick. Acosta received it, and he curled in a shot that went past Schulte just before the first half final whistle. Devastating way to go down 2-0 headed into the locker room. Now, yes, it was definitely a bad call. The Cincy player tripped over himself, but the player fell. The ref made a call, and for Columbus, they would have to just deal with it, and it would be all about how they would respond. Early in the second half, at first, not exactly a great response, where Schulte had to make a brilliant save on Bupenza early in the second half just to keep the match where it was 2-0, and Bupenza was definitely looking for that dagger throughout the second half. He had goals called back due to offsides and handball in the second half, and basically at that point, a 3-0 advantage would have sealed the game for FC Cincinnati, but instead, a Gressel cross intended for Christian Ramirez finds the back of Cincinnati's net. It is officially listed as an own goal. Either way, I don't think the Crew really care who it went off of. Made it 2-1 in the 75th minute, and the Crew getting a glimmer of hope. But they did have to get another goal in the next 15 plus minutes in order to make that goal count. And early in the 86th minute, while Columbus was attacking, and a frantic ball found Rossi, who tucked it under the keeper, and he found the equalizer, making it 2-2. Now, Diego Rossi, in my opinion, had been having a rough game up to that point. Just overall, since he was acquired by Columbus, hasn't exactly played up to the billing of being the guy to replace Lucas Zelarayan. But I do think Diego Rossi has shown his pure goal-scoring ability. Obviously, coming in huge for the Crew on Saturday to tie that matchup, and that would settle the score at 2 apiece for extra time. The match did settle down a bit in extra time with Amundsen firing a chance high, but around the 106th minute, Schiberko would make an amazing tackle on a dangerous Cincinnati attacker who was going to get into a one-on-one with Schulte, and Schiberko has actually been a lot better recently. I don't feel nearly as bad as him coming on, substituting in for Rudy Camacho. I feel like Schiberko has held his own as of late, and that was a huge tackle to make at that stage in the match. But then with around 6+ minutes to go, a Gressel cross would miss Amundsen's header, but it would find Kevin Molino on the opposite side, who surveyed what was in front of him. He lobbed a pass to Cucho Hernandez's head, and while he was close to a goal, Cucho Hernandez, realizing that a better chance would be created by heading a crossing pass, and that's where Christian Ramirez would be able to pounce on it for pretty much right into a wide open goal. Comeback complete. 3-2 Columbus, and that was how the score would remain. A great moment for the Crew, and definitely a tremendous way to send yourself into hosting an MLS Cup. So now they've earned and should be able to expect a pumped up home atmosphere. But since not anything can be easy involving this playoff run, that was in jeopardy to start the week, and could still see a bit of a diminished return, where a lot of Crew season ticket members and Nordeca ticket holders were not able to gain access to their seats, or perhaps any seats, after I believe it was some bot scalpers figuring out the password for some of the sponsorship tickets, where large swaths of tickets were bought up, and a lot of it would have priced out most normal fans just looking to go to a match, even an MLS Cup match, where some of these prices were ridiculous. But the Crew front office and their ownership, they were able to find a decent solution, where they made a statement on social media saying that some illegitimate sources bought up some tickets, and those purchases would be canceled. And there was an exclusive window for season ticket members earlier today, Tuesday, and general public sale will open Wednesday at 10 a.m. Hopefully that does restore a sense of the atmosphere at Columbus that definitely would have been missing if a lot of the fan base was priced out. Even that wasn't a perfect solution, however. You have some season ticket holders that they did purchase other tickets, or tickets that were put on the secondary market, and those original purchases were canceled, and those weren't really refunded until after the Tuesday window passed. I think it is worth noting that MLS does control these tickets, not the Crew, as the MLS Cup is technically an MLS event that the Crew is hosting, so the Crew don't really have a whole lot of control over where the tickets go and what's distributed there. Also, I will say that LAFC, who will be the Crew's opponent for the MLS Cup, they're the defending champions, their supporters did seem to get access to their section. I feel like I saw a couple LAFC fans actually able to get tickets to the Nordeca section before the Crew's people and the general public were. I'm not blaming LAFC fans for buying tickets, obviously. I do want to think that maybe it was just to make sure that the section for the visiting fans was actually occupied by the visiting fans. But I do think it is a little fun to create more reasons to dislike the MLS and think they're out to get Columbus in some sort of strange way. But either way, all that there is left to do is to wait for Saturday, and we'll see if Wilfried Nancy can lead the Crew to their 3rd ever MLS Cup in his first year as manager. What a story that would be, but I feel like what a story this already is. I feel like this run in general has just been a crazy roller coaster, and it's just, this week is kind of that final build up, that final slow crawl up the hill to what hopefully is a very exciting MLS Cup match for the Crew. I obviously hope they win, but again, this season has already been a huge success. Hopefully they can cap it off by having Don Garber give them the MLS Cup at the end of it. So that's going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far into it, leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you'd like to see more like this one. Once again, thank you for watching. I will see you at the next one.